We're here with Representative Dorothy Moon from Idaho, and we're in Montana at the This West is Our West conference. Dorothy, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This has been a great conference.
Wonderful. Just last weekend, we were hanging out in Wisconsin, and you were telling us some stuff that blew my mind. So you were talking about the con battle in Idaho and some of the dirty tricks that the other side is using. Would you go into some detail about that?
Sure. I think they are dirty tricks. After my first year of my first term, I received a packet of letters, and they were petitions with typed signatures on them, and I retrieved them out of my mailbox at the end of March after our session ended, and I started looking through them, and I noticed names of folks that I knew that were John Birch Society members or really good conservatives that never would have signed on to a Convention of States or con. And so I started calling them, and sure enough, they had not signed them. And that was alarming to me that we now see fraud occurring on the proponents for a Convention of States, and how many other letters have gone out. So this was just specifically to my District 8, and so by the time I'd gone through several of the letters, I noticed of the 110 that I received, and I didn't call on all of them because I'm thinking they're all fraudulent as far as I'm concerned, and so that was a real problem, and that will be revealed. I will be talking about it when we start back up in January, because I am sure they're going to make another run at a Convention of States.
Excellent. And I think the track record for this year for the Convention of States people is like 18-0. They've lost every battle. I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about how it went down in Idaho? We all know they have a lot of money. How did they lose in Idaho, and how has it worked with other states?
Well, we have a bunch of good patriot groups in Idaho. Idaho is kind of the bastion of conservatism in the West, I believe, or at least I feel it is. And the patriot groups were strongly represented as far as different rallies that we had at the Capitol, and that when there would be speakers, there'd be some counter protest on the other side of the road from the Capitol steps, and the people just came out in force. There's a lot more networking among the conservative freedom and liberty movement, and they showed up. John Birch Society members showed up from North Idaho and East Idaho, and we're talking 10, 12-hour drives. It's a big state, and a lot of mountain ranges to get over. So I was very pleased. I was also pleased to know that the 4 legislators who were really proponents of a Convention of States, all 4 of them are now gone. They either retired, they lost their seat, or they tried to run for a state office and failed at that attempt too. So those 4 folks are gone, so I'm hoping we don't have as much of a concerted effort this year. I'd like to get some good legislation done and not keep rehashing this Convention of States.
Excellent. So, if there's one point that I think a lot of conservatives agree with the Convention of States people on, at least what they're arguing, is that the federal government's completely out of control. And I think even, a lot of liberals agree with this at this point. In fact, the polls show that they do. So, since they're not obeying the Constitution, changing it probably won't help. What can state legislators and state governments do to help get the federal government out of, what it shouldn't be doing in people's lives in the different states?
Well, first of all, we got to recognize that the Constitution is a God-inspired document, and we do need to follow it. Same with our state constitution. And the thing is when you're following, at least from a Republican standpoint, you're following the Republican platform, there are certain guidelines, and we either oust those people who are not following the platform, or we get these younger folks in who want to protect our way of life and protect our liberties and freedoms in our state and get them to run for office. And actually, one of those folks of the 4 legislators was a chairhead, and he also was beat by a 3%er, which is one of the new liberty groups in the state. So that was interesting. We just have to bring in new people who are going to honor the Constitution and not just use it when it suits their needs the best.
Excellent. And what are some of the big political battles going on in Idaho that might have some relevance to the nation?
The Medicaid expansion is huge, and I mean huge. We have it on our ballot in November. Sadly, though, what a lot of folks don't realize, this is going to be health care for able-bodied people. These aren't, we're not looking at cutting services for special needs, seniors. Those services will remain. They're already on Medicaid, but what this will bring in is a whole new population that we will, in a year or 2, wind up paying and funding ourselves in Idaho. And we don't have the money to do it. So that will be taken out of transportation, that will be taken out of education, all the essential services we as a state are now required to take care of.
Excellent. And anything else you want to mention, Dorothy, before we go?
Well, it's great seeing you 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, right.
I've really enjoyed
It's great to see you, too.
It was great to see you. I'm really excited about the energy that I've seen at the John Birch Society meeting and what I've seen here, way up in Whitefish, Montana, which couldn't be farther from all of us. But anyway, it was a great turnout, and I'm enthused. My batteries are charged, and I'm ready for January.